Hello, and welcome to the Soul Shaking Love podcast. I'm your host, Valerie Green from CoachValerieGreen.com. And this podcast is focused on bringing you the top dating, relationship, and mind, body, spirit health experts so that you can have that soul shaking love connection with yourself and with your true love. And today, I'm really excited to be bringing you the world's first dating coach, Marc Katz. Hi, Evan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
He has been a dating coach since 2003, and I've been following him for a long time. And this interview is about how high achieving women can find equal partners who want to commit, which I know that a lot of my clients tell me I attract, and I know you do too, a lot of women that work really hard. And we are passionate and we're ambitious, and we want a guy who's also passionate and ambitious and works on himself. And, it's why isn't he out there? Why are women doing the inner work and men aren't? So it's like we want to find someone who really meets us. So I hear a lot of that. So that's what we're going to talk about, is how you can attract that man who's a true match for you. So just before that,
yeah,
I know. Yeah,
I was waiting for a question. So
totally. Yeah. So Evan basically has been presenting the male perspective to women forever, and he's so eloquent at doing that let us just dive in. So Evan, why is dating more complicated than ever before? Let's just start there.
I think you articulated a big portion of it, is that you've got changing gender dynamics that have been happening since the mid-70s in the workplace, where women have 1/3 more college educations, right? With 1/3 more women are graduating college than men. Pay gap has largely been eradicated, especially for younger people, especially in big cities. And so we have something that's close to equality. But because our gender roles have changed, women don't need men to support them anymore. They don't need men in the same way they used to. Their standards for what they expect in men has gone up, and the gender roles have changed. So women have evolved in a way that men haven't evolved. And so what do we do with that in the 21st century? Because we're not going to, contrary to what anybody might want to think, we're not going to do anything to change men. There's no dating coach in the world who's going to say, thanks to me and my brilliant advice, we're going to change all the men in America, and we're going to change all the guys in DC, and we're going to change the people on Bumble. So there's no changing. There's only working with what we've got. And so that's what anyone in these professions do. We help reframe what's going on in reality and help you make better dating and relationship choices that are consistent with your long-term goals. And that's usually where people kind of need to get out of their own way. And that's a very challenging topic.
Exactly. I love what you just laid out, because I like to think of it as, because so many women come to me, how can I make him commit? How can I change him so he's more emotionally available? And it's like, you can't change anyone, especially men, but we can inspire. And the way to inspire, as you know, is, well, that's what you're going to be talking about, is to be inspired inside of yourself. And I'm sure that you have more to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't follow. I mean, this is not with arrogance. This is just, I don't follow other dating coaches. I don't know what everybody else says. I'm sure there's a lot of people, and probably 90% of the advice is the same and 10% of it is different. So I'd probably use slightly different language, maybe because I'm a man. Right. Like I'm not going to have a soul shaking love podcast.
Exactly.
Right. I don't talk about manifestation. I'm work very tangibly, practically on, if you do X, he will do Y. If he does Y, you do Z. It's very tangible. So we could see results, best practices for people. And I would say that 80% of your success in love is not on who you are. Right. It's on your choice of men. If you choose good men, most of the problems go away, right? And that's like anything. You could say, I want to buy this house. Well, if a house is a big fixer-upper, good luck with that. I want to choose a house that I don't have to put more money into fixing up. So women choose a lot of fixer-uppers and think maybe with maybe our chemistry's strong enough that he will love me enough to change, or maybe I could work on him. Maybe he's going to want to work on himself. Maybe. And I'll always say, if your good relationship can't be based on his willingness to change, you have to assume that whatever you got with him right now is it. So the how can I make him conversation is a non-conversation. How can I make him want to commit? Choose a guy who wants to commit instead of convincing a guy that he should want to commit. How do I make him be more ambitious? You don't. You want a more ambitious guy? Choose a more ambitious guy. You don't make anybody do anything. So most of my work, my signature course is called Love You. The first 3 months of it are on dating, which is basically choosing a guy who has the potential to go the distance. If you make a big wrong decision at the beginning, you're going to be paying for that 2 years, 20 years later. So we really want to get it right. We want to fix your broken man picker instead of trying to take chances on guys based on chemistry, common interests, and potential.
Exactly. I love what you're saying. And I actually really want to slow it down because I think that you're making a lot of really important points. So in terms of not being able to change men, that means that we need to learn how, as you say, to change our picker. Because if we get attached too early to somebody who's a fixer-upper, then it's really hard to leave. It's a big conundrum. And I know that's where a lot of women come to us. And so if we learn how to be more discerning in the process of dating so that we don't get attached to somebody who doesn't want to commit, who isn't emotionally available, who has all these red flags, if we stay in the game long enough, that's what I hear you saying, then you'll and know how to choose the right kind of man.
There's a soft science to this, right? This is not gravity's 9.8 meters per second squared, right? This is a little softer science, but we have enough anecdotal evidence, enough social science to say what is largely predictable when it comes to dating and relationships. So I want to just take one piece of what you said and piggyback on it because I thought it was a useful construct. And I wrote it down. You talked about fixer-uppers, right? Here's the problem with the fixer-upper. You can't always tell they're a fixer-upper. So you could find the guy who looks great on paper, right? He's got his act together. He's intelligent, he's cute, he's getting stuff done in the world, right? But if that guy has anger issues, if that guy shuts down at the hint of communication, if that guy puts his business before he puts you and doesn't prioritize you, if this guy does not see himself ever being married or doesn't want to be a father or is on the fence about that, right? You picked poorly. And it doesn't matter if he's a Top Chef supermodel Rhodes Scholar. He's still not a good partner for you because you're going to spend your whole life anxious. And anxiety is the opposite of what love is. And too many people associate love with anxiety, with butterflies, with uncertainty, where love is actually something that's really safe. And that is a foreign feeling for most people who are used to, oh my God, I hope he picks me. I hope he picks me. I hope he picks me. By all evidence to the contrary that his interests lie elsewhere.
Totally. Yeah, you keep on sharing so much wisdom, and I keep wanting to slow it down to make sure.
And I will apologize. You run the show. I'll respond.
Yes, no, it's wonderful. No, you're doing it exactly right. Because I think that you're saying all of these nuggets that people can even rewind and slow down for themselves. Because essentially, what I'm hearing is that we have our list of what we want. We want the ambitious guy. We want the successful man. We want him to make enough time for us, which might not happen, but let's say we even find that. But then if we don't ask the deeper questions and do the inner work to find out, does he have anger issues? What is his emotional availability? What are his sticky wickets, so to speak? I know Lauren Francis likes to talk about that. But, it's like, I really think that if we do the work, as you're saying, to know who the guy is before we get attached.
Right. So I want to gently even reframe the concept of doing the work.
Oh, I love it. Do tell.
Work, people don't love the word work. So why would we talk about this as work? Why would we even talk about this as inner work? How about we look at this, and again, just go with the metaphor. You don't have to take it. It's my central metaphor in Love You. You're the CEO of your love life. Men are the interns applying for a job with you. How much work does the CEO need to do on the intern? Does the CEO need to do a background check on the intern? No, not really. Unless you're doing some high security job, not really. How does the intern show up? Do they want the job? Are they really eager? Do they keep trying? Do they come in early? Do they stay late? Are they focused on making sure that they demonstrate to you through their efforts that they're the right person for the job? That's usually the way the intern gets the job. It's not a lot of work for the CEO. The CEO just sort of sits back and says, all right, is the guy stepping up or stepping out?
Yep.
You're the CEO of your own love life. Men are the interns, and it's relatively simple. So instead of framing this as you have to do the inner work on yourself and you have to do the work to figure out, like you're some sort of like private investigator, I'm going to figure out, is this guy have money in a 401k? Does this guy cheat? Because I'm going to ask him the tough questions because that's the work. No.
Yeah, that is not a feminine attitude. I completely agree.
That's way too much control, way too much of an agenda. Hey, I'm going to receive a whole bunch of suitors. You're not my guy. 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 Great. Who keeps showing up?
Right.
And then to build onto that, we have a different timeline than other people have. At least my clients have a different timeline than other people have. We don't sleep with guys or call them boyfriends until 4 to 6 weeks minimum, right? We don't get engaged for 2 years. Because all the things that determine whether he's a good husband are figured out over time. They're never figured out from a Bumble profile. They're never figured out from a first date. If I were to give your listeners 5 characteristics to look for in a guy, you said, oh, we have the list. He's tall and handsome. He's successful. He's smart. He's funny, right? That's the checklist. It's the wrong list. That list, according to Northwestern last summer, Eli Finkel, if you ever had Eli Finkel on the podcast, he's a great researcher.
Ooh.
Right? The stuff that you're attracted to has zero to do with whether you're going to be a long-term happy couple. Zero. There's no correlation between those traits with what you're attracted to, which does not mean attraction is a bad thing. You need to have a baseline of attraction.
Of course.
It's that if you have all the attraction in the world and you both like skiing and you're both lapsed Catholics and you both want to live in the country one day, it still doesn't make you a good couple, because 5 characteristics: character, kindness, consistency, communication, commitment. Maybe a 6th, connection.
Right.
If you're
ability to connect.
If you're missing any of those things, who cares how great he is? None of that matters. So we're generally spending our whole life looking for the wrong list. It's not that your list, it doesn't have some currency. Of course, you shouldn't be with someone you're not interested in, like, attracted to. But those things alone don't make relationships work for 40 years.
Exactly. I love that. I think it would be useful for you to just repeat back those 5/6.
Sure.
Because I think that those, if I do say should, because as a coach, we don't like shitting on people, right? But if we do say should, I really think people should pay attention to those 6 characteristics, because I agree that those should be on everyone's list.
Right. This list comes first. The other list comes second.
Exactly.
We're doing the reverse. We're looking for the person who fits the fantasy.
Right.
And instead of saying, hey, am I getting these 6 basic needs met here? Character,
that is so important. Okay.
kindness, consistency, communication, commitment, connection. Now, if I have all 6 of those things, right, and he's 5'7", do I throw the baby out with the bathwater, or do I say, maybe I could do this for the rest of my life. I'm really happy in this relationship. That's the kind of stuff that allows people to rethink their premises. And that's what I did. Right? I'm now 50, married, 2 kids, but when I was in the throes of this, dating online, hundreds of people, the person I chose was 3 years older than my max age range. I compromised on something important because I was getting all the other needs met. Yes. And she was Catholic, never would have chosen a Jewish guy online. She compromised, got the life she dreamed of, just a different picture than she had in her head. So this is how love is often found when we're not just scrolling through the next hot guy on apps.
Yeah, no, I love what you're saying, because I think that you're describing the difference between compromising and settling. And so why don't you talk more about that?
That's a great segue. Well done. No one wants to make trade-offs when it comes to dating and relationships, which is understandable, but a little ironic, because we make trade-offs in everything all the time. Your job is a trade-off. You told me before we got on the phone. I'm a people person and I'm at home all the time. That's a trade-off you made to do this job.
Right. And it's a labor of love, right? And so I think that's the distinction, in my opinion, between compromising and settling, is that it feels right. We might be compromising on the fantasy of what we thought it should look like, right? But like, it feels
We can always try to inch closer towards the fantasy to get as much of it as we can, but we compromise with our jobs and our homes and the city we live in and our friends and our family. Always
exactly. And then that's a question of, why do we do that? Because it feels right and it feels fulfilling, and that's actually what we need instead of what we want, right?
Right. So again, I love it that you got a step ahead of what I was going to say, right? You basically encapsulated, my bullet point here. Compromising and settling are the same thing. They both involve trade-offs. The difference is how you feel about it afterwards. You compromise your way into happiness, you settle your way into misery.
Yeah.
So if you compromise too much where you're genuinely not happy, well, that was a bad compromise. It's like signing a bad contract. But in a normal compromise, you go to work and you tell your boss, I want to get paid $85,000 a year. And he says, I want to pay $75,000 a year. And you say, okay, 80. And you're cool with it and they're cool with it. That's a win. If you're working for a lot less than you're worth and he's paying you $11 an hour and you're used to getting paid 80 grand a year, well, then you've settled. So if we can understand that it's about the feeling, right? I compromise my way into a unique, happy relationship that I wish upon everybody, and I try to spread evangelically. There's no reason that everybody else couldn't compromise their way into happiness too. You just never want to bend over backwards too far to the point where you're like, I really regret my choices. You should never regret your choices.
Right. Yes. You've just said a bunch of sound bites right there. I love you compromise your way
20 years of this. I'm pretty much all sound bites at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. You can make a bunch of memes out of that. Compromise your way into happiness and settle your way into misery. And I think that that's a really, really good thing to remember, that it's all about how it feels. And
I love that you figured it out before I said
it. Yeah. Well, the truth is the truth, in terms of what works. And I think that's, why there are so many dating and relationship coaches saying the same thing, because people need to hear it in a different way.
Sure.
And so, of course, this is all easier said than done, right? So how do women avoid wasting time with the wrong men? Like, how is that actually done? If we feel all this chemistry and we're swept away and we just want to say yes and keep going, and he wants to see us every day.
You got to use your head a little bit, right? Think about it logically. And again, emotion's more powerful than logic, right? That is, I want to say it's my weakness as a coach, is I'm trying to logic people's emotions. But think about the person. Are you single? I don't want to pressure you, but I don't know if you're single, if you're married or.
Oh, me, I'm married. Yes. Happily married.
Right. For me, when I was single, if you asked me this question, I know what the answer would be. And I know the answer for most single people. Think about the person with whom you felt the most chemistry in your entire life. Think about the 4 people you felt the most chemistry with in your entire life. Are you with them now? Are you in a safe, happy relationship with them now? So for the most part, the answer is no, you're not. That's why we can't trust that feeling. It's a lovely feeling. It's an exciting feeling. Every person I was gaga, head over heels, you're my soulmate with, they all dumped me. All of them dumped me. So how accurate is that feeling? Going 100 miles an hour on the freeway usually guarantees one of 2 things. You're going to miss your exit, or you're going to crash your car. Right? That's what happens. That's what happens when people tend to go too fast.
Right. No, totally. And I think what you're saying is that it's really important to not put the cart before the horse. to slow down and not rush into things, and to check to make sure that he has those 6 things, basically.
Yeah, and these things are not revealed at the beginning. So anybody who, and again, there's no morality behind this. Anybody who hops into bed with a guy on the 3rd date because it feels really good. Anybody who calls a guy after 3 dates her boyfriend because he says, I want to be with you, and now you just dove into the pool. You haven't even checked to see if there's water in it. You don't have enough information about anybody after 3 dates to make any real decisions and to double down on possibility of building a future. If you're the CEO, you really need to vet that person for a little bit longer to be able to see through a more clear lens. And so we say, well, how do you, this isn't like a technique. This is an understanding that you want to minimize risk. And if there's anything I do with my clients in Love U, I try to virtually eliminate risk in what is essentially the highest risk profession there is, dating.
Yeah.
So how do we eliminate risks? Well, we say no to things that are obvious red or yellow flags. So if we remove most of the red or yellow flags, we've eliminated a good portion of the dating pool that's going to come back to burn you. I did like 1 viral TikTok video. Like I'm 50. I'm not a social media king. 1 viral TikTok video. And all we did was talk about, here are the kind of guys you should avoid. Right. And off the top of my head, guys who are recently separated, guys who are recently divorced, guys who are recently divorced who haven't had a relationship after their divorce, guys who are long distance, guys who don't know what they're looking for, whether it's marriage or kids, guys who are at a bad place in their life. They're in midlife crisis, they're unemployed, they're going through some sort of transition, guys with addiction issues, guys with whether it's alcoholism or drugs, guys who have anger issues, guys who are emotionally unavailable for a relationship. And we could figure all of that out in less than a month. So there's never a reason to have a boyfriend who's any of those things. So what have we just done? We've eliminated a whole bunch of guys. I've had women be like, that's every guy. It's not every guy.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. It's not every guy.
We've eliminated a whole chunk of guys because these are the people that women often find themselves with. We just paid attention to their behavior for a month before sleeping with them or committing to them.
Yep.
Now, oh, he seems like a good guy. He talks about a future. He talks about marriage. He's escalating his efforts to see me more, calls me every night, right? Wants to be my boyfriend. I'm just waiting until I'm ready. So now we can enter into a committed sexual relationship with someone where we don't know what the next 2 years are going to hold, but we at least know we're on the same track and there's no obvious roadblocks ahead.
Right.
By eliminating risk up front, we save ourselves so much trouble of, I fell in love with a guy who technically he's not divorced yet. Oh, I fell in love with a guy who we've been sleeping together for 3 months, but he's still not my boyfriend. His profile's still up and I'm afraid to talk to him. Well, if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be in this position.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love your formula because it actually seems to be very efficient and effective. Which
it takes guts to say no. That's the other thing. When people say, how do I resist this chemistry? I don't know. How do you resist the extra piece of chocolate cake? How do you resist having sex without a condom? How do you resist having the extra drink?
That is a good question. It is the same impulse control strengths that we have inside us for all of those things.
Right. You say no. I remember I had a moment a few months before I met my wife. It's not a coincidence. I went out with someone, my type, for better or worse, LA actress, big personality, like really like takes up space in the room, laugh out loud, funny, lots of verbal banter, brunette, curvy. I'm over the moon. I haven't even met her yet. We go on one date, right? Make out in my apartment. And I was like, I could never see her again.
Oh.
I knew exactly where this is going. This is going to be another version of what I was doing for 10 years. And I was a 34-year-old dating coach with 2 books in stores who was giving advice that I wasn't listening to. So I took all the willpower I had to say, nope, not doing it. 3 months later, I met my wife.
Wow, that is a great story, because I think what helps us to have the willpower is to be inspired by somebody else who did it and succeeded.
I I am not a woman, obviously. Therefore, I can never claim to have walked a mile in your shoes. I think there's a great parallel between whatever my journey was, my evolution, to learn from the mistakes I was making as a smart, strong, successful man. I was doing the exact same things that most of my clients do. So that's how I could say I'm never speaking from some sort of pedestal, right? Mansplaining your life to you. Very much just pointing out, I went through this. I've been coaching women for 20 years. This is actually a really relatively predictable arc. And I could tell you what's going to happen before it happens. So let's just minimize mistakes, right? Because important endeavors need to have mistakes minimized, like a space shuttle launch. Right? You want to check everything before we take off. And we don't really do that when it comes to love. It's like, he's cute, I'm lonely, I hate online dating, seems good.
And
Right?
it feels good.
Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed. I don't like that as a strategy. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Right. Yeah. It'll just work. If there's love, then it'll just work out.
Right. And every couple that's ever been divorced loved each other at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Love is a prerequisite for a successful relationship, but it's not the thing that gets you there. Same as chemistry. You need to have it to get there, but in and of itself, your chemistry is not going to keep you happy. Your love's not going to keep you happy. Only a guy who's a real committed intern is going to keep you happy.
Exactly. And I know that you haven't talked a lot in this interview about feminine energy. I know you do other places, but the thing is that what you're saying, I think, really falls into the paradigm of, if you're in your masculine energy, then you're going to want to rush things and ask questions to find out if he has those 6 qualities with an interrogating energy. And that is going to push away a masculine energy man who's a high achiever, because you're too much like him. Right. But if you observe, sit back, and see it from feminine energy, which means you're receiving his behavior, you're noticing if he has those 6 qualities, which takes longer. And if you do that before you sleep with him, before you get too attached, then you weed out the men who are fixer-uppers. And so then you don't waste time with the wrong men. And then once you enter into a exclusive relationship with somebody, that's when you really test to see if he has good long-term potential. So that's what I see you saying. And then the question is, how do you tell if he's right for you in the long term, more than just those 6 characteristics?
So you said a lot, so I'm sitting here taking notes on what you're saying. I want to build on what you're saying, because the interrogator, right? I don't know that part necessarily comes from a place of masculine energy. There's a masculine energy.
Oh, right.
Masculine energy is, hey, Brad, I haven't heard from you in a few days. When do we hang out again? Right? Like, I got his tickets to this thing. It's pushing. It's nudging him because she doesn't trust that he's going to follow through. But it's also tied together with, right, anxious attachment style.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
I've been burned so much by love. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want, that's not even masculine, right? I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to waste time. I want to read the last page of the book. I don't want to read the book. I just want to make sure it has a happy ending.
Yeah, so, that's the anxiety.
Before? Right. And the net result is the same. It's not a very pleasant dating experience for the man who's being interviewed for the part of husband. Not a very effective dating strategy, but it usually comes from insecurity and anxiety more than what I would consider masculine, for whatever that's worth. Is one thing.
Yes. Oh no, I completely agree. And I mean, my question that I know that I asked about the long term, so we could put a bookmark there. But then if a woman comes to you and she has that anxiety, how do you help her? Do you help her challenge her limiting beliefs? Do you help her see the bigger picture?
Sort of all of the above. The entire first month of Love You, we don't do any dating, because people don't come into my course like ever feeling at their best. They feel exhausted. They feel burnt out. They feel they can't trust their own judgment. They're confused. They're frustrated. They're despondent. Nothing ever works. I don't even see the point of dating. I don't think anything's ever going to happen for me. Or I've been dating online for 6 years on and off, and I haven't turned it into anything good. Or I just got out of a 7-year relationship and I'm just really gun shy right now. All of those things are really common conditions. So what kind of dating coach would say, hey, you should go on 4 Bumble dates next week? Right. So we don't put anybody on any dates for 7-8 weeks. Mm-hmm. We really ease people in to get week 1, week 2, get rid of the limiting beliefs, right? Reframe your past, come from a place of confidence and abundance, learn how to be the CEO of your love life, flirt in real life, right? Navigate the tools of online dating. Now we're ready to put ourselves out there. And it usually is a 7-8 week process before we even worry about that. Now, there's people who, this is the masculine energy part. Evan, I just joined Love You. I want to date. And I was like, you're allowed to. I'm not going to stop you, right? Can I just go through the entire course? It's a 26-week course. Can I just get to the end of it? That's the type A, the gold star. I just want to finish the class and I want to find my guy. And those people need to slow down. And I wrote down something when you were talking. There's a difference between time wasting and time investing.
Right. Ooh, I love that.
So I don't want to waste my time with a guy. Why shouldn't I ask him on date 1 whether he wants to raise Jewish kids? Why shouldn't I ask him who he voted for? Right. And the answer is because it's ineffective.
Yep.
The same way that a guy, and again, I'm going to give this as a ridiculous analogy, but it's not that ridiculous. Imagine a man who is 40 years old, who was married his college sweetheart when he was 26. In the past 10 years, it's been largely a sexless marriage, right? Wife got into raising the kids. They drifted apart. They weren't able to reconnect. And it's a common-ish story. I'm not going to blame anybody. But this guy has been so deprived of affection for so long that he's got a sense of anxiety. He doesn't want to end up there again. So he says to you on the first date, you give blowjobs? Because that's really important to me. I mean, I didn't get it for like 10 years. So before we go any further, I just need to know, is that something you do? Is he wrong for feeling this way? No. Is it a good thing for him to ask on the first date, even though it is a very reasonable concern? Nope. And you can laugh at that. It's an extreme example, but it's not that different than all the things that are going around in your head. Who did you vote for? Do you have money saved? Have you ever cheated? What are you looking for in the future? Do you want to have kids? Do you have addiction issues I should know about? All the things you're genuinely concerned about, we have to just allow them to come out.
Yep.
And how will they come out? People talk. If you just sit back and listen,
yep,
people will reveal everything. How do I know if he wants to get married? Well, if you dated me when I was 35, you'd know. Marriage-oriented guys want to get married. If you talk to me for 10 minutes, you know I want to get married, have kids, be a little league dad.
Yep.
So you don't have to pull stuff out of them. They will reveal it to you if you go out with them 8 times in a month. All this stuff that you're all worried about, that's a time investment.
Yeah.
The waste of time is hopping into bed with a guy, calling him a boyfriend, getting attached, and spending a year trying to fix the things that he wasn't in the first month. That's the time waste, not the few dates that you're going on where he reveals himself. So we really need to make that distinction between investing a time and letting a man reveal himself over a few weeks, right? Because you don't want to waste any time. I need to know he's my husband today, right? Versus I'm wasting my time because I'm trying to turn a man into someone that he's not.
Yep.
I don't want to cut my losses and admit I made a mistake at the very, very beginning.
Yeah. Slow is the new fast. I mean, you're talking about basically doing what works.
I call it reality-based dating coaching.
Right. Exactly. Like not trying to jump the gun. It's like, you can't want to plant a garden, to use a more feminine analogy, and expect the plant to produce fruit tomorrow. You have to till the soil, pull the weeds, water it, etc.
Yeah, but people don't. I mean, everybody wants the magic bullet. I once had a client once upon a time, and she was working with me, and I have a great relationship with most of my clients. This one I did not have a great relationship with, I regret to say. Doctor, Australia, very masculine energy, aggressive, and didn't want to do anything different, just wanted the result. What she needed was the millionaire matchmaker. Right. So she went online and she found a system, like some dudes, like how to marry a millionaire system. She's like, Evan, you're telling me to do this and how to date online and how to market myself and how to flirt. And like, I know what I'm worth and I deserve that kind of guy. So I found this other dating coach and he sells $197 how to marry a millionaire system. And I went through it the other night and he didn't tell me to do all the things you're telling me to do. I said, okay, it's fine. Whatever works for you. What'd you learn? She doesn't even know what she learned. All she got was the validation that she could hold out for a Top Chef Supermodel Rhodes Scholar, not have to change, not do anything differently. But she didn't learn a goddamn thing, right? And that's the hardest part about coaching. We don't want to change. We want everybody else to change. Mm-hmm. We want men to commit. We want men to never sleep with us without committing. We want guys to tell us the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help them God. We want guys who are actually legitimately confused. They're not intending to be players, but they are recently out of a relationship, but they're lonely and they want a connection. We're expecting them to know their own feelings and protect you. We're expecting things that are just impossible. Mm-hmm. So I'm not letting men off the hook, right? I tell women up front, 90% of men for our purposes are worthless, right? Not bad, evil people, just 90% of men, not marriage material. Great.
Right. Relationship clueless.
Right. So let's look at the 10%. Let's choose one from the 10% and we're in business. Yep. But so much is invested in telling women what they want to hear and making men wrong. But there's nothing to learn from that because we're not going to change them. Yep, I do videos and women are like, why don't you tell this to men? They yell at me in the comment section. I'm like, I'm a dating coach roommate. It's like you're going to a vegan restaurant and telling them to start serving steak. It's like different things.
They're trying to change you too.
Right. So you could feel however you want. I agree. If I were a coach for men, there's many things I would change about them. And I would give largely the same advice to men about what they should compromise on and how they could be better partners.
Right, of course.
I completely agree. I'm not ignoring men's problems. I'm saying we can't do anything about them. So given that, we don't need to make every man. We need to find one good guy in your area.
Yes. Out of all of the humans in your area, just one good guy. And so, okay, I mean, I love what you're saying, which is basically just do what works with men. And you're explaining that to us, which I appreciate. And it's simple, although not easy, which is why we could all use support, of course. And so then, all right, let's say you're in a committed relationship with a guy who has those 6 things. Now, how can you tell if a man is right for you in the long term?
It's not what you think. Because most people are looking for a lightning bolt. They're looking for a moment of clarity, right? And again, I want to question all those moments of clarity, right? Any boyfriend you had who, if you're single and you're listening to this, any boyfriend you had who you thought was your soulmate, who didn't turn out to be your soulmate, you had a moment of clarity. It wasn't that clear. Any job that you thought was, this is my dream job, and it didn't turn out that way. You had a moment of clarity, wasn't that clear. So I don't trust moments of clarity all that much because they don't always have a great track record. They feel great, but they don't always have a great track record. So I pay attention to feelings. Good, and this is going to sound dumb. I don't mind sounding dumb on your podcast. Mm-hmm. When a woman's in a relationship with a guy and half the time she's unhappy, that's a relationship she shouldn't be in. I don't care how cute he is, how rich he is, how deeply connected you are, how bad you want it to work. If you're unhappy a good portion of the time, there's no reason to think this is going to get better over the next 30 years.
Right.
So I really ask people to pay attention to their own happiness, as mundane as that sounds. If you're unhappy, you don't have to work on your relationship. Right. How could I make it go back to the way it was in the first 3 months? You can't. This is the real guy. The first 3 months was the intern auditioning. Mm-hmm. This is the real guy. The guy who doesn't want to hear your feelings, the guy who dismisses your opinions, the guy who puts work way before you, the guy who shuts down when you want to get somewhere real and have a breakthrough. So you don't fix that, you get out of that. So that's one. When you're not happy, get out. Don't keep on working and fixing and working and fixing. Next, the way you know someone's right for you, It's almost the polar opposite of that. It is the absence of anxiety. It is. That was the difference between my wife and every other woman I dated. I dated women that I was nuts about, but I would go to sleep next to them and my heart would be pounding and I'd be staring at the ceiling and I would be nervous. I was anxious all the time. Why? Because I didn't feel like I was on firm footing. I felt like I could have been broken up with at any time. It was an all butterflies relationship. It wasn't a grounded relationship.
Right.
So you need to feel with your partner the way you feel with your best girlfriend.
Yes.
Like it's easy.
Plus the turn on.
Talk to you about anything and you're never going to go anywhere and you're never going to judge me. It's the feeling of ease and the lack of anxiety. So imagine dating that black cloud of anxiety that hovers over every relationship. Imagine you didn't have that. Imagine you could just feel at home and know that you're unconditionally loved the way hopefully your mother unconditionally loves you. Imagine you could have that with your partner. That's what we're striving for and nothing less.
Yes. That's such a beautiful feeling. And that is what I call soul shaking love.
Okay.
It is that full being, emotional, physical, spiritual, intellectual connection with another human being. And as you're saying, you can really only tell that over time. It's interesting. My husband, actually, as we were dating, he described the analogy of annealing. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but basically, when they were blacksmiths, I know there still are, but when they were common, there's a term called annealing. And what that means is that if you heat up metal too quickly, then it'll, it'll melt. But if you heat it up too slowly and you try to bend it, then it'll become brittle and break. And so annealing is the right pace at which to melt metal so that you can work with it and make really strong but bendable objects. And so he was saying that the right pace, because when we met, he was dealing with a lot of complications in his life, and so was I. And he was talking about we have to merge our lives together at the right pace so that we don't, have this strong passion that burns out, and we don't have this too slow avoidance thing where we just don't have enough time to make something work. And so that's kind of the feeling that I'm hearing that you're looking for, is just, it feels peaceful. It feels harmonious. It feels easeful. And it should keep feeling that way if you observe his character and you observe how you feel.
Yeah, listen to your feelings. The problem is women are intuitive, sensitive, feeling, and they bury their own feelings to preserve relationships that don't deserve preservation. Right? You've ignored your feelings your whole life, right? And haven't valued ease, right? Everybody's been told relationships take work. I work from the opposite side. Relationships are easy. If your relationship takes that much work, maybe you should find a better relationship. And so if we aim the bar even higher for what you should come to expect from the feeling of your guy.
Yes, from the feeling, exactly.
The feeling
and then, of course, I mean, we don't have to call it work, but I wouldn't feel right if we didn't say that it does take, dedication to be.
The word is effort.
Happy.
Effort.
Yes, effort. Good. I like it.
But that's an important distinction too, right? If the common wisdom that we hear conventionally, relationships take work.
Right.
Just like I said at the beginning of the call, work doesn't feel good to me. And it doesn't feel good to anybody. I'm not in the coal mine. Right? Is it work for me to say, honey, you look really tired. Let me make you dinner tonight. Honey, you look really tired. Let me walk the dog. You could stay and sleep in. Right? Like, honey, for Mother's Day, go to the Four Seasons and get yourself a massage. I'll deal with the kids. You don't even have to think about that. That's not work. That's exactly just common sense. Do what you can to make your beloved happy.
Yep.
And there's just a bunch of little things that you do in life, but you do them all the time. And you don't spend too much time thinking about it. And you spend no time keeping score. As long as you're putting in that energy and in return being appreciated and reciprocated, then you're both winners. Yep. It's the problem is when people put in that energy and they get nothing back. Well, yeah, you're putting your energy into the wrong person. Women say, I overgive. No, you don't overgive. You're giving to the wrong man. So when you find a man who's a giver, You could receive in your feminine and also give back in your way. Now we have what you call harmonious, and it is easy, and it does take relationship maintenance.
Yes, yes.
Not work. We've never had makeup sex. We don't go to couples counseling. Like, we agree on 95% of stuff, and then 5% is negotiable.
Right.
How much work is that?
Yeah. It's harmonious, and it's wonderful, and it's blissful. And I agree, it's effort, right? But like, I wasn't talking about, yeah, I agree. It's harmonious service to do for your partner. I'm talking about the effort that it takes to challenge your limiting beliefs and identify what our needs even are. That's effort to be happy. And that's the work that we need to do as women in relationship in order to be happy, because that doesn't come from the man.
I think these are overlapping things. I'm certainly not going to argue with you or negate what you just said, because I think
yes,
that is
a
component piece of it.
Yep.
I also think that we spend a lot of time, so much time on the inner work,
right?
Almost to the expense of the outer.
Exactly.
So, like, if I were unemployed and I need to spruce up my resume and do research, and I haven't had a job in years, but spruce up my resume and do some research and do some informational interviews and whatever the hell it takes to get a job in this market.
Right, which is what it takes. And right. You know,
I could say I'll be the best version of myself, but you know what's really going to make me happy? When I get a job. The solution's actually external. I can love myself all I want, and that doesn't make a difference. I ain't paying the bills.
I love the paradox.
Years in therapy, we could do the work and challenge our limiting beliefs, and we can go down the deep rabbit hole. And I got women who've been doing the work for a decade. And you know how many dates they've gone on? 0. Because they're so focused on their healing that they haven't realized, hey, at a certain point, you got to take this thing out for a test spin, and you got to let some people into your life. And if you go out with one guy a week, you're going to find a guy you like in the next 6 months.
Yep.
So to me, it's the both and. Yes. You have to love yourself. Yes, you have to be vulnerable. Yes. And my Love You course is, we're going to get online for a half hour a day. We're going to go out with one guy a week. It's both.
Yep. No, I completely agree. You know, it's sort of like those law of attraction people that think that all you need to do is visualize what you want, and then it'll just come to you.
You're going to manifest it, and you're going to drop into your couch while you're watching Netflix, and you won't have to go on any bad dates on the way there.
Exactly. And so I love what you're saying, because it is essentially, so many women focus on the inner work, and it's about also just getting yourself out there and having the right set of tools and support and distinctions to tell if this guy actually has what you're looking for, and he is a good long-term match. Not that it's your fantasy of what you want on the list, but it's those 6 qualities and how you feel. Yes, exactly. And yes, how you feel on the inside, happiness wise, and what to look for on the outside. And it sounds like you have a very comprehensive plan and system. And so what should women do if they try all of this on their own and they still find themselves stuck?
We talked a little bit about business before we got on the phone today, what it's like to be an entrepreneur in a landscape where there's, I started this in 20 years ago. You can get off this podcast, call yourself a dating coach, and you too can do the exact same job that we do. There's no certification, there's no qualification. Anybody could be a dating and relationship coach, which is not to diminish the value of good ones. The point is, it's a really saturated space. So how do you do it better? That's the thing that I've at least attempted to do over 20 years, was to take all of the things that I've learned from coaching women, from being a single man for 10 years, from being married for 15 years, from coaching for 20 years, and put it into one program called Love You. And it is a comprehensive program that's 10 3-minute videos a week, just like it's like taking a massive online course, like in masterclass or something like that. Short doses, so you can learn everything there is. Month 1 is on confidence, then meeting men, dating, understanding men, relationships, and commitment, right? And every week we have a coaching call, lasts for like 2 hours. I take everybody's questions. It's like a concert every week. So you learn online, you date on, right? You learn from this course, you date with regularity when you're ready, and then you come and ask questions to me, and you're part of a larger community of women who've gone through this course and graduated and fallen in love and gotten married. And so you're surrounded by positivity. It's like joining a gym. We're Jenny Craig, and this is your your people. And so you're not talking to people who've given up on men, people who've been married for 25 years and don't know anything about dating, people who make horrible decisions in love and then give you their own take on what you should be doing in your life. So you're surrounded by people who are really walking the walk, the stuff that Valerie and I are talking about today, who really try to embody these principles, and you get to actually witness other people grow and have success, get feedback when you don't trust yourself. And so we're just trying to surround people by love and allow them to get out of their own way and make good decisions that are consistent with their goals, because left to our own devices, we collectively don't always trust our judgment. Because how can you trust your judgment if every relationship you've ever had has fallen apart, which is not, again, all your fault. Maybe you're just attracted to emotionally unavailable men because you're your dad. Like, there's any number of reasons you could have gotten there. Therapy will identify how you got there. It's not going to tell you what to do next.
Yep. So
that's the idea of Love You, is we hold your hand through this process so we could actually see tangible results and show you success. You're not just learning and listening, which is unfortunately what happens when people watch reels on TikTok and listen to our respective podcasts. They learn, they nod their head, they say, that's really good. The life doesn't change.
Yeah.
So life only changes when you take action.
Exactly. And a lot of women, because we are motivated a lot more by oxytocin, that we need to feel like we're doing it together. And it sounds like that's what that your Love You provides, is not just the right information, but a way for women to talk about what they're doing together and inspire each other.
Yeah, we have a great community, because I've Love You been around for 8 years. We have graduates who, I mean, I did what's called the Love You boot camp yesterday, and we had graduates come on every 45 minutes to talk about their experience. And this one just moved in with her boyfriend, and this one's celebrating her 5th anniversary, and this one just got pregnant. So it's so lovely to be able to see this, to be able to share their stories. You talk about inspiring. I'm not suggesting that I'm the inspiring person. I'm inspired by the idea that people have come through here and gotten what they came for, and that they volunteer their time to tell other women, you got to do this too. Like, that means so much to me after all these years of doing this, that I've got clients who will take their Saturday to tell other women, you need to do this. Your life will change. I know you don't believe anything works, but your life will change.
Yes, yes. And what makes an inspiring person is to be inspired. And it sounds like that's what people get out of hearing those stories. And a lot of times when we're down in the dumps and we think we're the only one, just hearing stories that is possible and hearing from other women that are also doing the same thing, taking the right steps, the effective ones, that's actually inspiring and makes us inspiring people.
I agree. I would never refer to myself as inspiring. It's a little more self-serving than I want to be. Well, I'd like to think I very much understand the dating and relationship dynamic for smart, strong, successful women who are looking for a certain type of guy and have had a lot of trouble navigating this on their own.
Exactly. And I know that you have a free gift that really puts a lot of what you said today in front of people so that they can have these tools to remember.
Sure. I give away a lot of free stuff. I think it's the only way to build trust on the internet, is you give away a lot of free stuff, just like you do in your podcast naturally. So I've got a blog, and I got a newsletter, and I got a podcast, and all that kind of stuff. But the free gift I want to give to your listeners today, you can go directly to my website, evanmarckatz.com, evanmarckatz.com/dating. I believe it's called the 8 Massive Mistakes You're Making in Dating. And they're really counterintuitive. You will get this 25-page little glossy PDF, and you'll be like, oh, I'm doing 6 of these things right now, because they're so common. Because the same way that we could probably do a list for men, what they're doing wrong in dating unintentionally, very easy to do so. So these are some of the things that you're probably doing organically while you're dating that are not necessarily serving you well. And after you read that, we'll send you a whole bunch of free dating and relationship advice. We send out 3 emails a week. We don't try to bombard you with too much stuff. So Monday, we tell you about Love You. And on Thursday, we offer you a chance to get a digital product. And on Saturday, we send you a free podcast. So it's not sale, 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 sale all the time. It's mostly giving away a lot of free stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And you've given away so much information on this. I think that a lot of people, myself included, are going to have to listen to it again to tease away all the nuggets. So I'm sure that with your free gift and the podcast and all of the email follow-ups, that you just keep on sharing good nuggets.
Well, again, I'm just grateful to be here with you. I know you had lots of people in our community on. And when I checked out your podcast and I saw how many people that you've interviewed that I know, that I've seen come up, I know that you're doing a great service in the world, just spreading love and giving people this positive message and taking all this wisdom, and I'm sure incorporating it into your own coaching. So thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, thank you. And thank the community, because I feel like the world is evolving so quickly, especially with relationship dynamics. And we need good teachers and good information so that we can actually feel harmonious with the people that we're with, because we're all in this together and we all know that. And so we might as well enjoy it more and be happier.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. And thank you for being here.